Hi, it's Paul Weston here. Here, hold on, you're dead. Or you will be if you don't watch and listen to the real 007. These guys are great. They've been looking after me through this podcast, asking me some wonderful questions about Bond. And I reply as best I can to give them the real answers. Thanks.
We're here today to celebrate the career of Paul Weston and also an exciting new book. And to join me here, I've got John Kell from our podcast. So we've got
Hello.
John. And we've also got another John, John Orty, who I think is the godfather of stunts history, I'd say.
It's a very elaborate title. Good Lord. Dear Joe Powell will be turning in his grave. He was the godfather of stunts. I know that I'm the godfather of anything, frankly.
No, John's knowledge of stunts is second to none, and he has sort of helped guide everybody through this. And he's quite good at jogging the memory, isn't he, Paul, when it comes to remembering all these stunts?
Is the best thing that's happened to stunts since I think 1948.
Wow!
Oh,
bless you, dear.
Oh, Paul, you
He
sound
really, I mean, he has championed stunting, which has been wonderful for us to be out there in the digital world, which we wouldn't have, sort of thought about it until now. The young guys are coming in and using the technology, but in our youth, there wasn't any. So we just went along with what we got and a few newspaper items or the odd book coming out, but nothing like the attention that we get now is wonderful. Thank you.
Well, yeah. If you haven't checked out John's channel, Behind the Stunts, please do. There's endless videos, interviews, really, as you say, deep diving on some particular stunts, and obviously Paul's featured on that. So do check that out. But yeah, the book. So how did you come about the idea, Paul, of this book?
Well, they've been nagging me for years to write it, and I've always said yeah. I'm a bit young yet, but yeah, I've been toying with it for years. But and my family have been on my back to do something. So I did start when I started writing. I started doing. I thought, well, a bit of excitement, the bridge too far, and in that I thought I was going to. Come to my time ending. So and I thought, if they say that life flashes before you if you're about to die. I thought, if that did happen, what would I see? So I started really at my birth and wrote about what it was like during the 40s, growing up during the war, purely for my grandchildren to get some idea of what it was like, the truth of growing up in those circumstances. And I didn't think it would make the book at all. I thought it would, it's just an idea that I would then skip straight into stunting, really. But as I progressed, I came to understand that it is my life story, and if anyone's going to understand what happened later in my career, they should understand how I got there. And in doing that, the stories evolved, and hopefully they're interesting enough for non-fans of Bond or Star Wars to enjoy the read. Really, that's all I wanted to do, is tell a story of my life in a comfortable way that wasn't saying, there I was on fire and I fell off this building, and I didn't want to make it that sort of book. I wanted to make it a story of my life as I was going to write it. So it's a bit uncomfortable in a way, purely because you're laying out your everything, warts and all, your life, and it is a bit nerve-wracking to hopefully see some reaction that people like it. That's all I want, really.
I think what's always exciting about particularly the way in which these books tend to come about is that they are, as you've just said yourself, they're storytell based. They are story based, and you've always been a great raconteur. You can hold an audience with a story, and this very clearly works when you go from page to page, from chapter to chapter, because it's engrossing. It's not. I mean, people are really, and they're excited about the whole movie thing, but the early part of your career is just as fascinating, and you've got some remarkable stories there in relation to that. But it's the way you tell them that, if I may quote Frank Carson for a moment, it's the way you tell them that makes it appealing, and I think that's part of the appeal here. Was there any type of reference as far as other books were concerned that you thought, well, I want to stay away from that, but this is a nice idea, and the way in which you would tell that story over a period of pages?
Not really. I just didn't want to be influenced by anybody else. I just wanted it to be my story, the way I've seen it and the way it's affected me. Um, I've read, some of the boys' books. I didn't read Vic's at the time because I didn't want to be influenced because we did a lot of the same stuff in the early days, which I appreciated, but I didn't want to tell his story or anybody else's story. I just wanted to tell it my way and what happened to me.
Okay.
So it was being as truthful as possible throughout the book.
I'm just in admiration. I'm just sitting listening, just in admiration. I just think it's absolutely brilliant that you want to put your own slant on it. You want to tell your story in your way. And I think that that's one of the great things of the autobiography is that because a lot of the time these things are sanitized, aren't they, in a certain way, and the fact that this is your story is just credit to you.
Well, I just hope that it's interesting, at least interesting to people. That's what that worries me is that non-fans are going to go, well, tell me about Stunts.
Yeah.
So the next book is all I've written it already. So it's all about stunts and what happened to me in Hollywood and writing and things like that, writing songs. So this book I was a little afraid of.
I think it's interesting in that respect that it's often the second one, the second book, which is in music terms they refer to it as the tricky second album. You've arrived with the first one and they go, wow, well, we're on a roller. But clearly, from what you're saying, and there is a bit of a pattern appearing to a lot of the stories in relation to the career that you've taken on, was that you had a relatively tough school life. You weren't really a big fan of school, if I'm not mistaken.
No. Feeling inadequate, really, being dyslexic and not being able to sort of come up to the standard of that class or whatever. So you tend to reject it. It's not, if it's not mine, I don't want it. It's yeah. So I think it was a little of that uncertainty in my knowledge. Just feeling a bit of a dunce, really, and not being. So I was good at athletics and things like that. And boxing, I did very well. So I think I was compensating for my lack of knowledge of, sort of maths and reading.
Those first few chapters, growing up, of course, in World War II London. Then something else I didn't know is that this is your stage name, isn't it? If anyone didn't know, because the rules are you can't have the same name. So yeah,
it's always been a problem in terms of I when I changed my name, I thought, well, it'll only be for a little while because the career's not going to go anywhere. So if it's bad, no one will know it's me. But when I started becoming more and more recognized as as a stuntman and a model, I couldn't change it. It was too late to change it. I should have changed it earlier back to Charles Wogan or Frederick Wogan or something. But I didn't, and I just got stuck with it, if you like. And it was easy in the early days, just flying, the companies accepted that that was your name and that was it. And so booking flights was easy, because I'd go there and say, I'm Paul Weston, and they would accept the the fact that it's a stage name. When you go to the airports, checking in, they just accepted it. And it wasn't until I was doing, I think, probably Living Daylights in Gibraltar. The guy said, I accept it. He said, but you should have your name put in the passport. So after that, I was always also known as Paul Weston in my Wogan passport. Right. So yeah, it became difficult afterwards. Some of the companies knew who I was, and knew my name. But I remember Gail Samuelson always said she's going to tell everybody my real name, because she was the only one that knew it. But she never did, so it was wonderful. But I've had to learn to live with, sort of the two names, purely because everything now is so documented into your passport and your birth certificate, you can't change anything.
No.
I mean, you follow the family tree back to sort of the 1800s, haven't you? 18 something or other. But is there any connection between your Wogans and the Wogans from Limerick?
I knew you were going to ask that, John.
You've got to clear this up,
For which ones?
Terry Wogan from Limerick. Is there any connection there at all?
I would like to think so. When people, when you have to sign your name at a store or wherever, and people said, "Oh, Terry Wogan, any relation?" But at least the name Wogan was out there, because in the early days, you'd say Wogan, and they go, "How do you spell that?" But now everybody knows how you spell Wogan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Terry Wogan. So it's a Welsh name. In fact, it goes back to 1050 when Sir John. It was his name was Gwan, and it was turned to Wogan. So yeah, it goes back that far, and it is a Welsh name, and then the Irish, it became a very Irish name.
Right.
So it goes back to, as I said in the book, to Charles Wogan, who was Sir Charles Wogan in 1717.
Wow.
And he saved the princess from the Germans. So yeah, it's a name that's gone through the centuries, and it's quite well known historically.
Well, to focus on your career, Paul, one of your first big breaks on TV was with Roger, wasn't it? Roger Moore.
Yes, yeah. As I say, I was no idea. I was doing walk-ons on television and things like that at the time. But when my agent sent me to understudy Roger Moore, I didn't quite know what it meant, but I went along anyway, just because of the money. It was £3.50, well, £3 10 shillings. Walking on the set for the first time was just amazing. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the smell of the set, sort of paint and oil, and just a great feeling about it. And Roger was so nice and friendly and welcoming that I remember standing in the middle of the stage in the afternoon and saying to myself, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life."
Yeah.
Just I really wanted to be part of that, whatever it was. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I just wanted to be part of the film industry, I think.
Roger was directing that episode, was he?
Yes, yeah.
That's so underrated.
Yeah, he just wanted somebody to play his part with the other actors and walk around so he could look through the camera and say, "No, go over a bit to your left," or what. I didn't have to learn the lines, but I tried to learn as many, remember as many as I could, just to be a bit professional. But yeah, he was just he was so kind and welcoming that I just wanted to be part of whatever he had in that studio was wonderful. They loved him.
Yeah.
Everyone, loved Roger. He was such a prank. Yeah, he pranked everybody, and I remember at the end of one series, and he said, "That's it. The last episode, we was having a party. It was a party scene in the studio. All through the series, he would get a if he could have a drink in his hand, he'd say, "Oh, over there," and he'd spill water on somebody. And as a gag, and he'd get a soda siphon, and he'd be playing with it on the bar, and then go, "Oh, I'm sorry." So at the end of the series, he stood in the middle, and we all had champagne, and we all circled him, and he said, "Well, this is the last series. I'm not going to do any more. But cheers, lovely to work with you. Cheers." And water hit him from every angle. It came from the gantry, buckets came, hoses came out, people were throwing glasses, water at him, and he just stood there and he was soaked. He took it in such good part. But yeah, we all got our own back.
So good, isn't it? Dear me. Roger, though, you worked in him with obviously other projects, but quite a few Bond films. And was The Spy Who Loved Me the first one you did with Roger?
I think, yes, yeah.
Yeah, because like on your if you go on IMDb, I don't know whether you've seen Paul. It's got you in Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun, but that's not right, is
Yes,
it?
yeah, no. I think they mixed me up with Bill Weston, and I've
Oh, of
tried to
course,
take it down.
yeah.
I tried to take it down, and it just stays there. I don't know why.
Yeah. So you've only been in about 10 Bond films though,
Yeah,
which is incredible.
Only 10, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about your first time on Spy Who Loved Me then, Paul?
That was the submarines, was it?
Yeah,
the super tanker.
Yeah, that was great because it was my really first time with Bob Simmons. Though he'd promised me, I was there on the locations in the studios when they were making those the films. But and he was always saying, "All right, love, I'll put you in, love." He loved everybody. Okay, love, I'll put the next one. You'll be all right. But it wasn't until The Spy Who Loved Me that I did actually start working as a stuntman for his team, really. And we were getting blown up. It was like you were rehearsals were great because you were practicing falls and high falls and trampoline work. So you'd be on a large trampoline, two of you jumping 16 feet down onto a trampoline. Then the explosions go off behind you, and then you fly off in different directions, you hope. So yeah, it was a great learning curve for me to be with the Bob Simmons team, use some of the equipment that he had. But we were doing falls like 36 feet. It wasn't high, but into 6 feet of water, and they had rails underneath. Greg Powell, myself, and Terry Plummer doing about 36 feet, and we had to hit the water flat. Wow. Because you couldn't go down. You couldn't go head or feet first in case that you'd hit one of the rails. So we all came off on the explosion. It went off behind us, and as we were falling, I was looking down, and then I had to turn straight on to get as flat as I could. We had wetsuits on underneath, but even so, the slap was so hard because from that height it's like concrete. So we had to hit flat, and I was okay. But when we got back to the dressing room, Greg and when they took off their wetsuits, they were black and blue down one side where they'd hit. They were much heavier than I was, so I got away with it. But we were playing villains and the heroes on both sides. So you finish up shooting yourself. I've done it so many times on so many films that you're going backwards and forwards, and you say, right, you're in the red costume or you're in the blue costume, and there you are shooting each other and shooting yourself. But yeah, it was great fun on that movie. We learned a lot. We were also coming down ropes on that one. A great learning curve for me on Spy Who Loved Me.
in relation to that is the fact that even though it looks like it's quite a big stunt team, you do see the same faces over and over again in different overalls, doing this, doing that. I mean, you're doing 1 minute and then you're doing the next, and you're on the back of the mini moke. I mean, there's so many different options available. I mean, were you approached on the basis of that? Would Bob come up to you and go, right, you're going to be on the back of the mini, and then Rocky's driving, and this is what's going to happen? Or did you have to volunteer for who wants to do this, lads? It was a show of hands.
Yeah, no, you'd be standing there and say, okay, who's be on the mini moke and say, oh, I will. And then you just get in. Rocky was going to drive because he loves driving. I knew I was going to get blown off the back, or we were going to go in. And I wasn't going to sit in the back and just go in. I had to through the explosion. I love getting propelled,
Yeah.
We do it if you're on a motorbike and you hit something, your body carries on over the top. So I love that sort of being propelled somewhere with either air rams or any equipment we can use, even a Russian swing. You're being propelled off, and you make distance. And I knew that as it hit the ramp and started to tilt and start to go in, I could get a nice push off. And that's a nice photograph I've got of that.
It's a great shot. Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, you then continue with James Bond, don't you, to Moonraker, the next film, another Lewis Gilbert film. Yeah. How much dealings did you have with him as a director?
Not a lot. We were there all the time with him, but you don't get to speak to him or get to know him. But for Moonraker, all I did was, apart from the second, mainly second unit, I jumped from cable car to cable car, for doubling for Jaws, and then I just got a call. They were in Paris at the time filming. I got a call. I think the second unit director was Ernest Day. Mm-hmm. I thought one time it was John Glenn, but John, I think, was in Paris doing the working there. And the second unit director was Ernest. And he just said, okay, you got to jump from cable car to cable car, 16 feet. You got to get from one side to the other. Having done Superman, I realized that there was you couldn't get rid of wires. So, I mean, I couldn't use wires. I had to find a way of getting to jump 16 feet. So what I did is I got some pads out on the floor, got a mini trampoline, and went up. There was a ladder up the side of the building, the studio. So I went up and then up to 6 feet and jumped down, and that took me 8 feet. And I went up a couple of rungs, and that took me 10 feet. So I worked out how high I would have to jump down to be able to propel myself 16 feet to the other across the side. It was only probably 35, 40 feet in the air. But I put crash mats on the floor just in case I didn't make the jump. But so I strapped the mini trampoline to the Jaws side of the cable car, and then I had to get up on the cables above to jump down onto the mini trampoline. And I remember I was set up, and I had my boxes encased at the bottom in case I didn't make the jump. And I'd worked out that as long as I hit the center, it was only 2 foot wide, the mini trampoline. As long as I hit it in the center with both feet, then you're propelled the way you want to go. If you're slightly tilted, it'll push you off one side or the other, and you won't make the distance. So I was up there, got ready. I had the costume on, and they said. Only Day shouted up, Paul. I said, yeah. He said, have you got your teeth? I said, pardon? He said, have you got your teeth? I said, no, nobody's giving me any teeth. What teeth? He said, Jaws teeth. We might see it. So they checked it. No, the teeth were in Paris munching on some good food, I should think. So I didn't have the teeth. So I said to the props guys, I said, get me a quarter of an orange peel and some silver paper from a cigarette pack. So they messed around, got it, finally handed it down, and I got the quarter of the orange peel, wrapped the silver paper around it, and put it in my mouth. But I had caps and think, oh, I can't tell you. It was like putting a battery in my mouth.
Oh.
Silver paper on the fillings. It was like zzz.
Oh.
So I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah," and there was nothing. So I took him out. I said, what's the problem? And they said, no, we're running. We're just waiting for you to jump.
For you.
I said, just give me a big, loud action. So I put them back in again, and I got the loud action, and I jumped, and I just hit it center, and I stubbed my toe hitting the other side, but I made the other side, which was, and we got it in one, which was nice. I didn't particularly want to do it again, but I was pushing my luck as it was.
Do you know him?
Not socially. His name's Jaws. He kills people.
The teeth would be the off-putting part out of that, probably more than anything else, apart from the jump itself. Also, in relation to Moonraker, the other opposite of that, I mean, people think, oh, that's the most exciting part, where you're physically doubling the actor and jumping from place to place. But you're part of the evac team from the Moonraker shuttle, being on wires and hanging about inside the stage, which, from a wires point of view and from a harness point of view, must have been really quite extreme.
It was really painful because we had real lasers on our backs. So those backpacks were really heavy. As you know, when you're flying, you're on a harness that goes under your crutch. You got two straps going around under your crutch onto a waist harness, and then the wires come from there. So all your weight goes onto your groin, and it stops the blood going to your head. So a couple of the guys were just fainting. You know, you'd see us come out of the shuttle. It was all nice, and we'd start firing, and then you see one of the guys go, out, get him down, and they get you down. Because and we tried everything. We tried putting wires from the hip down the side of your leg onto so your feet take and a little platform, so that your feet take the weight. But because it's just a bar and you've got these costumes on, but you haven't got a solid sort of a sole, it damaged your insoles. It was really painful. So we gave that up, and you just had to suffer it and hopefully try to move around so that the blood was still flowing through your body.
Incredible.
Paul, I'm really sorry. I have to go because I've got to go and pick my children up. But it's been an absolute honour to just hear the stories I have. And I cannot wait to hear the rest of them as you just continue to share with these guys. But take care.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Cheers. That sequence was the fact that I was coming out of the shuttle as the American side of it, coming out of the shuttles and firing the laser. And I even get a close-up of firing the laser.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And then Derek Meddings, who was a very good friend of mine, said, Paul, get in the other costume and get down the other end of 007 stage. So I said, okay. So I got in the costume, got on the wires. He said, oh, there's a platform. So I was probably, I don't know, 60, 70 feet away from the camera. And in foreground of the camera, he had the space station.
Yeah.
And at the end of the space station arm, there was this platform, or the foreground made it look as though it was right there. And I was on this platform, and on action, I just had to step off the platform as one of the villains. And I was the first person out. And then you see me start firing, and I shoot myself. Yeah, it was, but it was a great sequence to work on. Apart from the pain of it, Derek Meddings was a genius. what he had to do was roll back the camera every time he did a shot. So he blanked off half the camera lens with us coming out the shuttle, on the wires. Then he blanked off us coming out, and he shot this side of the space station, and then he had us right at the other end of the stage, giving perspective to the size of the space station. He was just a genius. He was a lovely man too.
Yeah, absolutely incredible, Derek. And I'm glad you mentioned him because he's so fondly thought of, isn't he? And he clearly died too young, didn't he? Right just after GoldenEye, which his effects still hold up today. But he's done so many amazing films, and thank you for mentioning him.
His legacy lives on, of course, because there are people doing special effects today who are completely in awe of him and do it's that whole knock-on effect. It happens in every department. You see somebody and you idolize them, and then you get an opportunity to start doing the stuff that they do. So yes, quite right. Just on that point once again, but the other, from a harnessing perspective, going under the crutch, if you had it hinged from the hips, it would change the positioning when you're moving around as well. It would be probably more difficult to control, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah. You need to have your body weight resting on something.
Yes.
If you just had a belt around you, it'll just ride up your body. You have to have that hook under your feet, or like when you hanging somebody is always very difficult to get the right shape of somebody being hung by the neck. So on wires, it's you do really have to have them under your crutch. Or what we try to do is we start changing the harnesses to like boxer shorts and quite long ones, and strapping them up at the side. So a lot of the weight was taken on your thighs.
Yeah.
So that helped a little, but it still didn't alleviate the pain under your crutch.
For your eyes only, it must have been a breeze then in comparison, because you've effectively got involved with a good old-fashioned brawl.
Yes.
Instead of what had happened before. I mean, that was a very elaborate fight, though, and that was filmed at Pinewood, wasn't it?
I love that sort of brawl where you can really have a good fight and enjoy it. Sometimes you start off having a routine, and then it's every man for himself.
That's Roger, though, isn't it? You're fighting Roger at the end. He was. I know people say, he didn't like stunts and all that, but he was pretty good at fist fights, wasn't he? From the Saints, he's always done those.
Yeah. He used to put his hand out to your chin.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
go that
Telegraph
way.
it in. Yeah.
And so he always knew the distance.
Yeah.
He could throw a good punch, and he could take a good punch. We didn't particularly like falling on the floor.
No.
Falling over, he didn't particularly want to do that sort of fight, but most of his fights were standing. Otherwise, it would be a double.
Right, okay, yeah.
Falling over and, tumbling around. In the early days, Saints, he used to do, he'd fall over a chair or a bed, but he never had anything to prove. He never, he wasn't one of these actors, I want to do all my own stunts. I remember standing next to him, and a group of reporters asking him questions, and he said, one reporter said, "Mr. Moore," he said, "do you do your own stunts?" He said, "I do all my own stunts and all my own lying."
Yeah. It's so good, isn't he? He's also, what a guy.
Timothy Dalton, I remember standing next to him, and we had the same thing, and they said, "Do you do your own? Do you do your stunts?" And he said, "I do the action, and Paul does the stunts."
Yeah.
Yes,
Which is
that's a good way of looking
right.
at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
But Roger was,
On For Your Eyes Only, though, I think that fight, does it end, Johnny, when you both smash through that stained glass window?
That's right.
So I'm assuming that was you then, Paul, was it?
Yes. That was me, and Martin Grace was his double.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So we did all the fight up until that point. Martin took over, and I just crashed into him, and we went through the window.
There's a great show which was at the time called Clapperboard. Chris Kelly used to present a show called Clapperboard. It's on YouTube. In fact, it's on my channel. This particular segment, but it's on location while you are filming that fight, and he's interviewing Bob Simmons about the fight and the layered boxes that you've got to land on, and then that second shot of you bouncing off the sofa and landing on the floor. But it's very cleverly worked out. And was it just that I assume that stained glass window looked like it would, you weren't going to get a second take at it, I wouldn't have thought.
No. It was we took it out. Bob Simmons always did, he'd make the boxes up for you.
Yeah.
But they was as hard as concrete.
Ooh.
And I remember on Octopussy, he said, I said, we'll get some crash mats in for the ladies to swing down and drop on in the palace. And some crash mats. He said, no, we don't need crash mats, we'll put some boxes. So I said, but, they keep, we're destroying the boxes every time. We have to make them up every time somebody falls into it. He said, they won't break my boxes.
It was
and he used to make them as hard as anything. And in that particular case, I know one of the guys had to go over the balcony, and it was about 10, 15 feet, which is not enough height to give you the body weight to break the boxes. And if you haven't got the weight to break it, then it becomes quite solid.
Right.
So I said to him, that looks pretty solid, because Bob put flats on the top. And I said, go down and check them, because if you're going head first down in there, if you catch your neck wrong, you could do yourself some damage. But he said, no, but Bob's making them up. I can't. So I said, okay, but when it came to my boxes on my side, he made them as solid as anything. And I was going head first in. I had no control because Martin Grace had my body and my head was going to go in first. So I went down there and they were solid. And I said, Bob, can you make them, not as solid as that? And he was quite upset that I questioned him. And he said, and so when we went into them, as you see on that shot you were talking about, is that the boxes broke away. He didn't tie them in well enough, but they were soft enough for me to go in head first. And we got away with it. But I remember him was upset that I questioned his boxes.
It is dangerous stuff, isn't it? And didn't you saved somebody on set, didn't you? Was it that one? I think I've read in the book.
On Octopussy, one of the actors was who was a yo-yo guy.
Oh yes, in the palace fight.
And I was fighting the two Indian guys at the bottom and doing a backflip over the shoulders. Turned around and I looked up, and there was the guy was on the balcony. He wasn't in the scene. His part was on another part of the set up there, but he'd come around to the edge and there was a railing there. And as I looked up, he was looking down and the railing just gave away and he started coming forward. And I knew he was going head first. And he didn't have any control. So I just ran at him and hit him and just got his head before he hit the ground. His wrist, they broke his wrist trying to, putting his hands out, but I just stopped him, his head hitting the ground. It was a bit scary for him. It was,
There's that extraordinary adage about, if you get injured, well, you'll get replaced. Well, with the greatest respect to that boy, he got injured and he wasn't replaced because he did the rest of the gag with the arm in plaster.
I was going to say, so that's the reason.
No, he didn't. I mean, I had Clive Curtis doubling for him.
Oh, right.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, for the rest of that, he went off to hospital to get fixed up. So I put Clive in. Clive and I finished the fight, and we crashed through the window into the lake.
Right.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
I see
so
that.
good, that.
It was those moments leading up to where I'd convinced myself maybe it's the dolly and the braces thing.
No, it was full of
myself there was a brace.
feathers. We covered him in feathers.
Yeah,
and it might have looked like his arms.
Right, I see.
He was So he was, and he took over very well, and he was a good double for the Yo-Yo Man.
Yeah,
that movie also marked your I want to say promotion, but I mean, you were down as stunt supervisor, weren't you?
Yeah.
For that picture, what was that in relation with Bob Simmons? I mean, Bob was still down as the action arranger, as the stunt coordinator, but you were there more on a sort of day-to-day, set-to-set basis. This particular shot, you're responsible, you're supervising what's going on.
Yeah, we were. Bob was still, I think, in India. I don't know what he was doing, but I did a lot of the girls, a lot of the Indian palace stuff, as I say, the water stuff, the tank stuff, with the animals. And the tiger.
Sit.
Yeah, I worked a lot with the second unit and with John Glenn.
Yeah.
And as I say, Bob came back when we was in the Indian Palace. We had all the girls and the gymnasts.
Yeah.
Had, Susan Dando, who was the Olympic champion.
Right.
She helped us a great deal in terms of getting the girls to be able to do this swinging on ropes and doing the action.
So good, isn't it? There's so much to talk about. We're obsessed with Octopussy, aren't we, John? And we love
Octopussy. It's a I tell you what it is. That somebody once said they had an 8-year-old son, and they wanted to. So, what was the first movie that Bond movie that a kid should say? And almost unanimously went, well, Octopussy.
Definitely,
you know, because it is. It's a great ride from start to finish of full on action. Great fun action sequences, lots of humour because it's Roger, and it kind of ticks a whole bunch of. It's got clowns in it as well, so it fits a lot of boxes, circus, all that sort of stuff. But it does tick a great many boxes, I think, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and as I say, I only got it because of the accident that Martin had on the side.
Yes, of course. Yeah, right.
And I'm sure Martin would have been doing all that I had to do.
You did do some of the stuff on the top of the train as well, didn't you?
I did it all.
Yeah, I thought you did. Yeah, there's jumps off it and all that.
One shot of Martin on the top with the twin.
Yes,
that was the only shot that Martin they kept in because he was doing the side of the train to start with, and they didn't want to use that sequence with him. Knowing that's where he had his accident.
Yeah, seriously.
So I had to redo all that, on the side of the train.
That's you on the side of the train, holding on. Yeah. Unbelievable. So risky,
running along the top, diving under the pipe, jump over the pipe, under the bridge. I had to do it all, with a very bad wig, but
no,
running along the top of the train at 35 miles an hour, you got the wind against you, and you're running like mad. When you're turning around and running back, you got 35 mile an hour wind blowing you backwards.
Yeah,
yes, of course, yeah.
And the wig went up like a cockatoo.
It's fascinating if you compare. I mean, so we've had a train sequence in Octopussy with a fight on top of the train, and then you go to Skyfall and there's a big fight on top of the train. And if you compare the two, I mean, yes, in both sessions they do have the stunt guys on top of the real train. They do have the actors on top of the real train for certain moments, and then there's face replacement. But the difference with Skyfall is that when the actors are up there, they are wired on, right?
Yeah,
and the stunt guys are to a point, particularly if it's the lead actor and the double, the actor's wired on. Whereas back in 83 or 82, when you were doing it on the Nene Valley Railway, you and Wayne Michaels up there and Billy Horrigan and whoever else was up there. I mean, there was all manner of, there was nothing, there was no wires, there was nothing of that nature. I mean, this was good old fashioned stunting, for real. I've said many times before, but that dismount from the top of the train is spectacular.
Yeah.
And to think that it was done, and you told me yourself, but it was done with sandbags. The idea of being able to, throw it and go, right, that's where we're landing, more or less, and that's where you put the rig in. It's absolutely extraordinary. You couldn't go together, could you?
No, I had to leave my toes on a fraction of a second after once he'd left. Then that meant I overtook him slightly, and we were able to both land close together. I think Wayne and Dickie Graydon had actually done the fall before.
That's right,
He told me, I never saw it, but they put 2,000 boxes out. They were like 10 feet wide, and probably 6 feet, at least 6 feet high, and they went the length of the train.
Really? Bloody hell.
Why? I don't know. I mean, you only need the boxes you're going to land in. So as long as you know where you're going to land, otherwise, why are you doing it if you don't know where you're going to land?
Exactly, yeah.
You're not going to take a chance on where you land. So I just worked out exactly. We got the train going at 35 miles an hour. I said to the driver, keep going. And when I got to the first box, I let the sandbag out of my hand and let it fall. And where that fell is exactly where we would fall.
Right.
And then I knew where to put the camera on the other side of that. Otherwise, where would the camera be if you don't know where you're coming off?
Yes, of course, yeah.
So I said to Wayne Michaels was as brave as anything. I said to Wayne, you're going to have your back to the boxes.
He's got to go backwards, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you're going to have to trust me. You're not going to see any boxes at all until you hit them. I said, you'll have to trust me. And when I say now, you go. And exactly that's what he did. And he just sat backwards and into the boxes. And it worked out exactly right. We were right in front of the camera.
Seamless. And you add the Roger sort of noise to it, like, oh, and the audience, really, you wouldn't know any different, would you? It's perfectly edited, obviously, John Glenn.
It's a lovely sequence because there's a number of people involved. So there's Paul leaves the top of the train, and then the landing is Rocky landing, rolling off, and then running through the trees. So the way in which they're using so many different people to we need to create this sequence by getting the character from point A to point B. Let's add somebody in here. You go that way. It's brilliant. It's really, really sensational. I love it.
I think at one stage they used, there was a quick shot. I think it was of Jim Dowdle under the train.
That's it. Yeah.
It was just a quick shot. I don't know. I assume it was Jim. I think he did a bit on it.
Yeah, I think it was him coming out from under and trying to climb up the ladder to get back on. They did a little moment there with just adding a frame or two, but which was Jim, and then you did the rest from that point on. I think they've cut to you.
That was funny. I done it again. We had to do it with a helicopter shot, and I did it, and we decided that they were going to shoot Roger in the studio on the carriages. So they got two carriages, brought them from Peterborough down to the studio, and they were inside the studio. So there we got the carriage, we got the wind and the smoke going past. Look as though they're traveling. Lights are flashing, as though it's the sun is glinting on the windows. To make it alive. And John Glenn said, "Okay, Roger." He's sitting in his deck chair. And he said, "Okay, Roger, I'm dressed as Roger, just in case I need to double in for anything." So we're in the studio, he's sitting in his deck chair, and John Glenn says, "Okay, Roger, Paul, show Roger what you did." So I held on the side, pulled myself up, got on the top of the carriage, and moved away. So Roger said, "Oh, it's good. Do you want me to look back down to the camera as I'm climbing up?" John said, "No, no, no. You just climb up and get on the top." He said, "Well, Paul can do that."
Yeah,
and I did it in the studio, and climbed up, got on the top, and
he respects the stuntman, though, doesn't he?
Just common sense, he can see. Do I need to be? Will you see my face? No. Well, what's the point of me doing it?
Yeah,
absolutely. There's no point.
That's
I'm not going to take a job away from somebody else. Yeah, it's great. Logical. I like it.
Yeah. So it was a joy to work with.
Yeah.
Always playing gags. Did I tell you the pigeon?
Oh yes, please tell us that. Yeah. I think you told us it in London, but if anyone hasn't seen that, please tell us, Paul.
Yeah, we were doing the side of the Indian Palace and the balconies where Roger tries to get into Octopus's bedroom. So all he's got to do is climb along a couple of balconies, step across the gap about 2 foot wide, and get onto her balcony. So he was about 12 feet off the ground. I had crash mats on the floor just in case, but it was quite safe. It was quite a wide balcony. So I said I did a rehearsal for John and the camera. I said to John, got down, I said, "John, as Roger's stepping across it, wouldn't it be good if we had some birds fly up in between?"
Oh, yeah.
The balcony, so that it scares Roger, and if we have a low angle camera, it'll scare the audience. He said,
Right.
"Great, good idea." He said that you're the pigeon wrangler.
You're doing it.
Oh, thanks. So I said to the props guy, I said, "Can you get me some pigeons for this afternoon?" I said, "Yeah." It's like I was ordering a bottle of milk. Yeah, okay. Where'd you get a dozen pigeons? In a couple of hours. Anyway, sure enough, they were there. After lunch, we're going to do the shot. Roger's going to step across, and the pigeons are going to go up. So we get ready. Roger gets in position, says, "Stand by." I say, "Pigeons." So they take the pigeons out. I get a pigeon under one arm, pigeon under the other arm, pigeon in the left, and pigeon in the right. So I've got 4 pigeons. So I'm standing on the box, and I've got the camera, low angle camera behind me, looking up at Roger stepping across. So I'm all eager, ready. I've got to get this right because I'm the pigeon wrangler. So I said, "Okay, so I'm ready." And
pigeon wrangler.
So John said, "Okay, stand by." And Roger said, "Oh, he's up on the balcony." He said, "Oh no, I've got to go to the loo." He said, just sorry about this." So I put pigeon, all back in the baskets. Ready, off he goes. Roger's about 5-7 minutes. We're waiting. He comes back. "I'm sorry about that. Really sorry." Climbs up, gets in position, and I get in my position on the box. Pigeon, ready to go. I nod to John, "Glenn, I'm ready." He goes, "Okay, stand by and action." And Roger starts coming across the balcony. And watch him come up, and as he steps across like that, I go up with the pigeons. Up they go up. Feathers and dust comes down, and an egg comes down. It hits me on the top of the head, breaks and goes down my face. Roger was in hysterics. So were the crew. I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
So much effort.
Yeah. So he apologized after. He said, "I was up there. I looked down at you." He said, and I looked at the pigeons. I thought, "I've got to do this gag." Yeah. And he went over to the canteen and got a couple of fresh eggs. But he only hit me one, and it just for the gag.
He never needed an excuse, did he? Let's be fair.
Dear me.
Never needed an excuse.
Check out all our other episodes, reviews, interviews, features, location visits. Simply search Really 007 James Bond Podcast. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. We're also on social media, the main sites of Instagram, Facebook, and X.
So as far as Octopussy was concerned, that was a huge success. Your work on there was a huge success. And there was the option, if I'm rightly so, that you were going to take on the coordinating role from as a view to a kill, but that Martin then took over. Is that how that worked? You'd been asked to do it, or you were planning on doing it, and then had to pull out?
No, what happened is that Martin, because of his accident, they were obviously wanted to compensate him in any way they could, and they made him stunt coordinator on it. And Barbara asked me, she said, "Would you do second unit?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I was all excited about flying off to San Francisco, and about 2 weeks before we actually were going to fly, Barbara rang me and said, "Martin doesn't want anyone on the second unit. He wants to do it all himself." I said, "Okay, fine, whatever he wants to do." And off they went. So I didn't do anything on A View to a Kill, which I would love to have done second unit, but I didn't. And then when I was offered Living Daylights, and I said to Barbara, "What about, Martin?" And she said, "Don't ask."
Right.
So I didn't ask, and I don't know why I didn't do the next one, but I was lucky enough to get it. There could have been anybody, but I was lucky enough to get it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm sure it wasn't luck. I'm sure they really appreciated your hard work on Octopussy and the ones before. Surely, Paul.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? I mean, it's referred to as a family. Particularly the Bond pictures, and they're aware of people's abilities and attributes and what they've offered the series over a period of time. And you've offered a great deal. So very logically, they have said, "Well, let's ask Paul," and very clearly you were the right man for the job, because there's some extraordinary action sequences that are broken down into number of areas. But as far as yours is concerned, that battle sequence in Ouazzazate on the airfield must have been absolutely extraordinary to coordinate and to put together from an action sequence, because there's so much going on, isn't there? I mean, it's how long did that take to create and shoot? Where the Hercules is there, and there's all that. The firefight going on, and
the
Mujahideen coming through, and all that sort of stuff. It's just so many people.
It was, as I say, I needed 22 stunt people plus Moroccans.
Some Spanish.
Yeah. So it was a big sequence to do, and lucky enough, it all worked very, very well. I had 2 units going, and there was 32 horsemen on each unit. So while the first unit were just shooting them and doing the dialogue around them, I was doing the action sequence coming through on the battlefield, the bulldozers, and the one sequence was lovely. The bulldozer takes out a shed.
Yes.
And the guys, I said, I'll have a guy running out naked. So also that'd be naked. So Simon Crane said to me, "Why didn't you get Royale to do it? It'd be funny to see him running out there." I said, "What a great idea." I said, "Just to make sure he does it, you be in there with him." I had the two of them running out, and they left it to the last minute because
they did, didn't they?
The doorway it goes into a funny shape as the building is pushed to one side, and they just left the last minute holding towels and being covered in foam.
It's very funny, very John Glenn, but it's still a stunt that has to be done. It's still a bit dangerous.
Done for real.
Absolutely.
For real. Absolutely. Yeah.
It was great though that you were promoted effectively for Living Daylights, because this is a new kind of Bond film, isn't it, with Timothy? And I know you told us before that he really wanted to be more involved with the action side of things.
As I say, he was very keen to do as much as I would let him, really. And when we was doing the Gibraltar bit, coming down the mountainside, sitting on top of the Jeep, I was in a bit of a dilemma there, because if I wired him on top of the Jeep and the Jeep would turned over, he would be in trouble. He'd be crushed. And if I didn't wire him on and he wasn't strong enough to hold on, he could come off there. So I had a chat with him, and we decided that we had 4 minutes to make him the new Bond
Yes, of course.
in that
Yeah.
opening sequence. So I said I'd allow him to do as much as I thought he was capable of, and it's difficult to I'd only just met the guy to assess how strong he was, what courage he had. I had to try to analyze that very quickly to see how much I could allow him to do. But he was good. He assured me, he said, "Look, I'm strong enough. Whatever you want me to do safely, I'll do." So we put handholds on top of the canvas
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
top of the Jeep, and there's a nice shot of the camera on the top. I don't know if you got it, John, of the Jeep with the camera on the top and looking down at Timothy, and you can see me on the platform behind
right,
him.
yeah.
Because I just wanted to make sure that if there was any problem, I would be able to. I was wired on. I would be able to grab him or do something. But he was good all the way. Every now and again, he swung as they're going down the side of the mountain. He would put his leg over a bit too far, get a bit too confident. I'd whack his leg and he'd bring it back on top again. But he was very good. He was strong enough, and so he could actually move along the top of the canvas and do the knife bit, which was all very good. And he was very good at doing it. I was lucky to have such a physical actor, really.
Back in the good old days when pre-title sequences were 4 minutes long. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I was just about to say, as a podcast, as a Bond podcast, we did a big vote a couple of years ago on what's our favourite pre-title sequence. And I think Octopussy might have been second, but Living Daylights was number one. And it perfectly introduces Tim as Bond.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
a mini film in itself. The stunts are incredible, as we know. And like you say, it's all done in 4 minutes, isn't it? Somehow, these things didn't need to be 20 minutes long, as they became a bit longer recently. I think it's brilliant. And of course, you managed to get a little speaking part, didn't you, Paul, for this one?
Yes, yeah.
Notorious.
I didn't want it.
Yeah. No, I remember.
John Glenn said, "Yeah, you can play that at the bottom. You can be the soldier at the bottom who gets knocked over." I said, "Oh, all right, yeah, fine." But then I've got to do the say something, and I've got all the crew behind and stunts behind, making faces and making rude gestures while I'm doing my dialogue. It's just a bit off-putting.
You've gotten it, but all these years of you playing Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire and Cardinal Wolsey, all these roles that you've played had prepared you for Hold On, You're Dead, which I think is quite nice. Because it was delivered with perfection and aplomb, and was well worth the equity card, I think. Well done, you.
Hold on, you're dead.
Yeah, 3 years at drama school for that.
Yeah. Well, again, reading the book, you didn't realise how much amazing acting training you had, and amazing experiences when you were younger with some of the greats, weren't they? The golden era of cinema, a lot of that in the 60s.
And
everything. So you did a bit of everything, didn't you? Really, over these years.
Yeah. I just felt that I play little parts on the Baron or the Saint or whatever. Just and I thought I better learn something about this acting lark. So I looked for local drama school, and it was Mount View in Crouch End, and so I went there for almost 3 years, night school, so I could work during the day and still do shows.
With a lot of them, is that you got faces. You have those faces. People have good faces, and they appear in. Terry Plummer was a great example of this. He got a face on him that was always in a crowd, or was always in a speaking role, or always in a something. And Paul is another one, because Paul came from a from a modeling background originally, because that's where you started out, being a model and a stand-in, and you're a good-looking fella, and you got the old chiseled look there, and he can say words. He can say words. He's lots of stunt people, but you could throw a stick and probably hit half a dozen who were good with dialogue, and you're very good with dialogue. So that was always the option of being able to carry on and take, we need you to play a heavy, but there's a line in it here or there, and you'd be quite good saying this, the policeman or whatever it was, and that clearly had paid dividends in the end, because it carried you through to get further down the line, right?
Yeah. And after all these years, it's one of the disciplines of the young stunt performers.
That's right. Yes.
An acting course.
Yeah.
For 36 hours or whatever, it's a week of teaching, which my daughter
Jacqueline does. Yes, absolutely.
Teacher,
yeah.
With a couple of guys, and I've always said, the moment you walk in front of a camera, you're acting.
Yes.
It doesn't matter the fact that you're standing there at the background. You're part of the scene. You're
yes,
acting.
absolutely.
And we've never ever looked at it that way, in terms of you got to do a drama course. It just gives them so much. Now my daughter's saying that some of the young guys coming and girls that are coming along are really good acting.
Yeah.
Well, they start at the beginning of the week, not a bit terrified of speaking in front of other people and playing a part. She said at the end of the week they all want to do it more. It's like, yes, they have the confidence to be able to do it. They've not done drama before, but they have the confidence now to take on a word, a line here, a line there, and know how to treat that character, because even then, in that short amount of time of a week, they understand a little bit about acting, and then they want to go on and learn a bit more.
And not only from the dialogue perspective, but obviously from a stunt point of view, when you are doubling the actor, then you are that character for those few frames. You have to be that character. Paul's a very good example of this when he worked on a television series called Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, which is a wonderful show back in the ITC days. And you doubling Kenneth Cope for a percentage of it. So his character, Marty Hopkirk, has a certain quirky way about him. He's got an appearance and a certain walk, and when he runs, it's a certain run. And Paul does this. You look at we were rewatching the show quite recently again, and you go, oh look, that can't be Paul. That has to be. No, it's not. It is. It's just just for those moments, being able to capture that, and that's all part of that acting thing. So as you say, doing the physical acting, but then getting to the stage where now doing the dialogue as well, and it's a massive important part of not just being physical, but being able to deliver those lines too.
Yeah, but he had several doubles. So and that white suit went around.
Yes.
But yeah, you have to, if you're playing an old man who's got a limp before he walks the edge of the building and gets shot,
that's right.
You have to be him until that moment. And you've got to fall like an old man that's just been shot,
of course,
not Olympian high diver. So yeah, you've got to learn your character that you're playing. If Steed had a certain walk about him, and you just had to try to copy that. So you watch your actor, no matter who he is, or the girls have to do the same. Is that they have to replicate whatever their actor is doing, and how they've done it, how they move to do that. Before you get blown up,
That's right. Yeah. So, there's another very famous sequence in the Avengers television series where Mrs. Peel, Diana Rigg, leaves the show. It's her last appearance in the show. Her and Steed are upstairs and looks outside the window, and her husband has turned up in the car, and her husband is Paul. In the car, and she wanders down, she gets in the car, and they drive off, because the character that is driving off looks very much like Steed, because it's the same bowler hat and it's the same suit, so
Mr. Bond.
They did a close-up. Yeah, they did stuff. But driving out of the Muse
That's right.
And I was driving her to, and it was a really sad day that she did it. I mean, we loved Diana, and I'd been on it for a couple of years, I think, and everyone loved Diana. She was funny, she was beautiful inside and out, and so the day when it was Forget Me Not, there was the episode, and she has to pass Zara King coming up the stairs.
That's right.
And she says, remember he likes his tea stirred anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a dry eye on the stage. It was like everyone was so emotional about that moment when she was going to walk out that door. And so yeah, it was an emotional day for everybody, and it was, I know, for Patrick, because he relied on her a lot during the series. They would sit there and just change the dialogue. Why don't you say that? And I'll say
Right.
this. And she was very funny. She would when we at the bottom of the call sheet on the Saint, she would get the first assistant to write something about Roger, implying something or the other, and Roger would do the same on our call sheet. So there was a lot of banter going between the two.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I was going to say, because you were saying about stuntmen need to act. If you want to go far in the industry, you need to be an all-rounder, don't you? And if you're an actor who wants to be an action star, you need to do some stunts as well these days. So I think the fact that you're riding horses, swimming, sword fighting, there's so many different elements to being a stuntman. And you guys were pioneers, weren't you? I know obviously John has charted all this, but you were making up these stunts as you were going along, particularly in the Bonds, because they hadn't been done before.
You could have had everything. Don't you want to know why?
And to go on to License to Kill, Paul, no one had been set alight like that before, had they? Goodness me. I mean, that was very, very dangerous, but I think possibly the best villain death in any film ever. So again, we have to thank you for that bravery that you showed to get that shot, which was incredible.
Well, it was a nice one to have done. It's not one you want to do again. But as I say, I had an American stunt guy brought down from LA to Mexico to do that particular fire job. He was supposed to be a fire job man. So I said, you'll come down and you can do the fire job. 2 days, well, no, a day before we were doing it, actually do the shoot of the fire job itself, he said to me, look, if I leave tonight, I can get a job for a couple of months. And I said, okay, if anybody, I know the business, if you get a job for more than a couple of days, you jump at it. Mm-hmm. So I said, yeah, okay, you go, leave your bottle, and I've got the rest of the equipment. I'll do the job myself. So he went off, and I don't know whether he did have a job or whether he just didn't fancy a full burn, because he knew I wanted a full burn. So the next day I had to tell everybody it was changed. It was going to be me. So lucky enough, I had a lot of fire equipment with me anyway. So I had two. I put the underwear on, soaked in ice cold gel, and then I had two fire suits, and then I had the costume on top, and I had 3 minutes of air. Because once they put the mask on, which is soaked with Zell gel, and then you tuck it all in, it's very difficult to breathe. So I had a tube coming up from a 3 minute bottle on my waist that came up under the costume into my mouth so I could breathe through it. So I figured that by the time I get out the caravan and they start putting go on air once I put the mask on, and then they put the wig on, and then they mess around, and it would be like a minute and a half before I get on the set, half a minute to gel me up, and I'll have plenty of time to have enough air. But what happened is that they took longer to tuck in the wardrobe with the costume and everything. And by the time I got on the set, I thought, well, I've got about a minute left. And they said, okay, gel him up. And they gelled me all up. They put like rubber solution all over you, highly inflammable. So they put it all over you, and they said, stand by. And the camera guy said, hold on, we've got a problem. So they had a problem with the camera. So I'm going, all I can see is a little crack through one of the glasses. Is I can see Timothy sitting there on the rock, and
that's right,
he didn't look comfortable. They said, "Okay, you're ready, ready." Okay. By this time, I was running out of air. I was like sucking treacle up a tube. It was like, and they said, "Light him up," and then woof, everything went red. All I could see was this light through the glasses. So I was fully alight, but I was out of air. And then I had to, when you're doing a fire job, it's very dangerous. You have to let everybody know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. And if you're in trouble at all, you lay flat on the floor and put your arms out. That's the signal, come in and put me out, I'm burning. We turned over in action. I fell on my knees, got up, felt the side of the truck, and I had some little rocks on the floor by a flame bar that they were going to bring up after I fell over the flame bar. They were going to bring the flames up as though the whole lot's going up all in one shot. So I fell on my knees, hit the side, made myself along. I can hear this roaring. It's just roaring. It was 110 in the desert, and and then I was sat on
top
fire.
of what you've got. Yeah, exactly.
So I eventually got along I could feel the rocks under my feet, fell forward, and they brought the flame bar up behind me. And I was out of air anyway, so I just laid there until I could feel the CO2 coming over and put me out. And they pulled the mask off me. I was absolutely gasping for breath. Because you think you can hold your breath, but it's when adrenaline's pumping like that. So they took the mask off, and I was okay. They pulled me to my feet, and Arthur Worcester came over and shook my hand and said, "What a great shot!" That's when I was burning.
Yeah.
The heat transference through the costume just was getting to me, and it was like, and it's just the heat. And it dissipated quite quickly, but I scorched under my chin. I think when I fell onto my knees and went back, I think the heat went up there, and the condensation had steamed, had burnt it, scorched it. And then on my hand, the guy, I used the guy's gloves, and they weren't very good. And when I was picking up more and more Zell gel, flame on my wrist, this scorched bit here. But I was lucky enough. It was a good job to have done.
You said a thing there, which I think is very important, about routine. There is a routine from a safety perspective. If I go down on my knees, I'm fine. If I go flat out, then put me out. Your burn, because it was oxygen, was very similar to, from a pioneering perspective, but on the movie Westworld, Dick Zyker does, doubling Yul Brynner as the Machine, does this remarkable full burn. But if you look at the footage, and there's behind the scenes footage to see, they're actually physically saying to him, get down, because he can't hear, he can't see, he can't do anything at all. They're physically having to say, get down, Zick, and you can hear him. You can hear them shouting, down, 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 and then finally put him out. So to have this routine is massively important, that you've got to have that so that everybody knows exactly where you are. But it's a remark. It was edited really poorly. I think they got away with a lot of the editing, but it's an extraordinary burn, and Timothy's very brave for being where he was at the time. I think we have to say that as well, because that's a lot of heat to be confronted with in one foul swoop.
I said to him when we saw the playback, I said, Timothy, why'd you stay there so long? He said, I couldn't believe it. I was mesmerized. He said, I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
believe my friend was standing in front of me on fire.
Yeah.
He said, and then he hit me. He said, I had to go.
Oh
But,
my word.
yeah,
Well,
it
I
was.
mean, John mentioned the fact that it was edited. I know John Glenn filmed it longer, didn't he? But of course, it was to try and get it down in the ratings.
Down in the censors, yeah.
But luckily now, I think if you watch it anywhere now, it does show the longer version on streaming and things like that. I think maybe, and on the Blu-ray, there's a
Yes, I think there
unedited
is a
version.
longer version.
Yeah.
And of course, nowadays, with certain circumstances, but I mean, if they are using real flames in certain cases these days, but there's a lot of fire jobs that you see these days which are CGI flames.
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah.
or it's a partial burn, and then they add the rest of it
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
But only in very few occasions will you see something quite as big and as ferocious as Paul's fire job on that movie.
Mm.
Absolutely incredible. We won't go through everything else on License to Kill because you did that amazing Q&A with John a few years ago now at
And
British
it'll be in the
Chart.
second book. And here's
Yes,
the first
exactly. Yeah,
book,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
see.
that's true. Yes.
Keep
Right.
it plugging, boys.
falling into film, a stuntman's early adventures available now. We'll put the link
Yeah.
in the show notes so that people can go and explore that. I know that it's been rocketing off the pre-order sales, so that's got to be great news for you, Paul. But
Yeah,
certainly,
yeah.
we'll get as many people involved as getting copies of that as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's
Yeah.
unbelievable, Paul. And I mean, there's so much more to talk about, which means we will have to do a part two because there's all the. I mean, you did come back briefly, didn't you, for the Sam Mendes Bond films? But also,
Yes.
That's right.
yeah,
Yes.
also you've done stunt coordinating, but you've done second unit as well, haven't you? And you've done, like, for instance, Death Train with Pierce Brosnan and
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Lee. You know, there's so much going on that we won't want to rush into it all now, and hopefully we can chat about that for part two. But yeah, some unbelievable stories you've told us in this short time here, Paul. And as John says, please buy the book. It's like I say, I was just glued to it. I couldn't believe some of the stories. I didn't, Minder and all that about your ideas for Minder that were pinched, really. Probably can't legally say that, but yeah.
Allegedly,
Yeah,
pinched,
yeah.
yes.
The music as well, the music and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves,
Oh,
that's quite
one of my
incredible.
favorites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and working with some of the greatest people who've done film, haven't you? Like Steven Spielberg, obviously, the Star Wars, George Lucas. But we're here for the Bond, and I mean, this is just a fraction of the stuff you've done. So yeah, to get more insight into all these things and much more, please read the book. It's incredible, and I know John's been brilliant helping you out. Remember, because there's so much to remember, isn't there? All that you're still working, aren't you? So it's
Yeah.
just an unbelievable career.
Paul never stops working.
No,
Paul will
no, he doesn't.
continue to work, always working in some shape or form.
When I can,
Um,
yes.
When you
Yeah.
can. But I mean, that's the joy of a book like this is that, and particularly the extraordinary career that you've had, um, the idea that it will go for, another volume and possibly another one after that, just to elongate some of these stories. And as we said at the top of the show, that Paul's a great raconteur. You
Yeah,
could sit around a dinner table and listen to him for hours, talking about terrific stories on this and that, and meeting this person and that person, and being friends with Sammy Davis Jr. I mean,
Yes.
oh my goodness, another one of my heroes. Absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
So all of that to come. But it's well worth the read. It's a great read, and it's only the beginning. It's only the tip of the iceberg, because there's much more to come.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul.
So we'll have a drink in your honor, mate.
Right. I'll have a drink to you. Cheers.
What do you
bless
go, John? Brilliant.
So all the very best, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
both of you. Thank you so much, Paul. And yeah, keep in touch, and we'll hopefully see you with a book event launch thing.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's
Yeah.
a real pleasure. Thank you very much, guys. You've really been good, and
Oh.
it helps, us so much when you got knowledgeable guys asking you the questions.
Yeah. We love the films. We love it.
Yeah,
We love the making of them. So
it's our thing. Yeah, we love it. So
love hearing the stories.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
All
Take
right,
care,
Paul.
guys. All the very best.
Take care,
Cheers.
and we will see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
You can read many more of Paul's wonderful stories of his career growing up in London all the way to becoming a stuntman in Hollywood in his book, Falling into Film, so please don't miss that. You can also hear more from Paul in our Q&A on License to Kill, which we recorded way back in 2022 after a screening of the brilliant Bond film. Here are a few snippets about what he had to say about specific stunts in that film and more.
He does the first gag in the picture, which is doubling Robert Davi jumping from the Jeep into the hedgerow.
Okay.
It's also the case in these type of pictures of bringing in specialists. Up until this point, there'd been lots of people within the British and American stunt performers who were very capable of doing all of the bits and pieces. But, you know, that when you get a sequence like Bond skis behind a plane barefoot, you know, you've got to do your best to try and, right, who wants the job? And all the stunt guys are going, no, not me, thank you. No, there's got to be somebody else who can do it. So you had to find a guy, David Reinhardt, who kind of, I suppose he invented it, did he?
Well, he was the Florida champion of that time, barefoot water skiing. You have to go at 47 miles an hour, I think, to get up onto your feet. You drop your skis and then you go on one foot and then the other foot, and you take off. Or you can do it from a special bar from behind a very speedy boat. Mm-hmm. The problem was he was brilliant at it, and when we came to do it, we obviously had him on skis, and what he was going to do was just drop one ski and drop the other ski, and once he hit the water, the plane wasn't strong enough to pull him out of the water. So every time we tried the plane would get us as fast as it could, and he would hit the water and the plane would stop. Just the drag of his body on the water, we couldn't get him to do it. Right. So what I had to do in the end is got some plastic skis about this big with clamps on them, and he was able to do it. We were able to get the plane to go, take him out of the water as long as he got up as fast as he could onto his little skis. But I still couldn't get him to catch the plane up because the plane just didn't go fast enough. It was still a drag. So what I had to do was have him go out on pull himself out as far as he could away from the plane, and then I got the plane to turn into him so that he could actually meet up with it. And that's what we did on that occasion.
And of course, with that sequence as well, catching the plane is one thing, but then transferring to it is a different thing. And Paul did the transfer, and you appear to hit the plane like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It was a fairly painful experience, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was. And I wanted to make it look right and be sort of continuity, because he was being towed by a spear gun cable. I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll have a piece of wood just hanging on the end of the cable so that when we took off, you could actually see the spear gun or the cable. As it happened, I hit the side of the plane and we took off. And that was me hanging on the side, and I dropped my legs down. There's no cables, you're just hanging on to the side. So we were going up.
Who needs CGI?
Yeah. So swung down and got up again. And as I was laying there, it was like somebody hit my soles of my feet with a baseball bat. It just went whack, and I thought, where does that come from? And what it was is that the piece of wood got stretched on the rope and came up like a catapult, on a bungee, came up and hit my feet. If it had gone around the ailerons or around the plane, we would have gone in. But lucky enough, it didn't, and I was able to carry on and climb up. And then the next sequence is the aerial unit. They did a fantastic job. Once you get over, I went up to about 200 feet. Once they get up to 500 feet there, on parachutes, and they do the rest of it.
BJ Worth and his team doing that, but it's the amount of stuff that you did in that film is extraordinary. I was just saying at the top of this that nowadays they would get other performers to do it. Were you always going to do, like, for instance, the Hemingway house, the jump from the balcony down? That's you. Were you always going to do that, or was it just a case of not, because Simon Crane was doubling, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think I'd sent Simon off somewhere else. So
Simon, get me some tea, would you?
Yeah.
He's going to do this job.
I don't know, he might have gone, he wasn't down in Florida with us at the time at Key West, so I did it myself. So a lot of times things happen and you just have to step in and make sure that the job's done.
Farewell to arms.
Doubling Q was quite nice as well. You just
Yes.
you elbowed me. That's me.
Yes, but I'd forgotten about that.
You'd forgotten about it.
As soon as I saw him going through the door, I thought, that was me. I had a grey wig on. Yeah. So yes, I double Q as well.
The magic of cinema, marvellous.